Good morning, everyone. This is Marie with the review for 16, whatever last Monday's contest started was. This was the starting images, and I'm just amazed at how well you all incorporated, for the most part, both of the images. Kudos to everyone. Our first entry, as almost always, was Retired Guy with his postcard, a very political postcard. I'm gonna guess that Jim is not a fan of Donald Trump, but that's just my wild imagination going on. Well, as always, I needed a little levels adjustment layer to see what was going on here. And that's just me. If it looked fine on yours, it looked fine on yours. Actually, I think Jim did a good job of getting the president and Mr. McCain in lawn chairs to be sunning by the side of the beach. I thought that was really good. It's well composed photographically. There are some suggestions that I would make that I would kind of like to see. The first one that I'd make would be the northern White House. The island at Gun Lake is slanted to the left. And it would only take a minute for this northern White House text to be transformed and skewed. And if you grab hold of a middle handle, you could make that slanted, excuse me, to match the rest of it. I think the handwriting matches well enough. It just needs that left-handed slant. There are some problems with the feet here settling into the grass. I see that you've masked the grass over the lawn chairs, and that helps a lot. But perhaps just a teeny bit of shadowing would help. If you look at the trees, there's a light shadow underneath. And the other thing that I'd like to see is Donald a bit farther from shore. I mean, he might be able to wade in, and I'd rather see him drowned. No, you didn't hear that from me. I'm sorry. I see you've got the water transparent here, or perhaps this is a shadow. I'm not sure. And I'm not sure there's a way to fix it, but it catches my eye. But great job here putting the canoes and the paddles, and see, these all have a shadow in there, and they look like they're actually sitting on the grass. So, Jim, I just admire your mind and your sense of humor. And I saw something on Facebook this morning that reminded me of you. This is a typical retired guy photo of the Situation Room at the White House. And if you didn't do it, Jim, somebody has got a similar sense of humor. Then we have Russell, who has come up with a Gun Lake monster. I like the peachy flavoring or peachy overtones here. It makes it look aged, and it softens the harshness of the black and white. There are a couple of suggestions that I might like to see. One of them is the Gun Lake Monster. This is a title. The M needs to be capitalized, as well as the Gun Lake. I also might try putting that in a handwriting font or a hand printing font to match the age of the postcard. This is kind of a modern font. Now this is being really very picky, and I hesitate saying anything, but I'm going to just because I can. There are a couple other things that I might have changed if I were doing it. And this is a photographic composition problem. Here, Nessie's head is all lost up in the foliage on the island. It would probably be better if you moved Nessie down just a little bit. So he is complete and entire. He isn't touching anything else. And that would be the major thing. That would improve your composition a lot. You might even want to make him bigger or smaller, but just moving him away so you could see clearly what he was. And the other thing that I played with a little bit was this kid that's standing watching Nessie. I might make him a little bit bigger, and I'd move him over because I moved Nessie over, so they looked like they were looking at each other, so there's a clear connection between them. The reason that I thought the kid ought to be a little bit bigger was the scale of the trees. This would be more likely the size. But nonetheless, you've done a great job, and it's very creative. I never in the world would have thought of that. Vicki gives us a wonderful, nostalgic look at the past and the present. She's added a couple of girls here, there at Gun Lake, and done an excellent job of putting them into the grass and into the scene. They settle in very nicely. She's added the sun to compensate for the glare that was on the postcard. I thought it was very interesting and creative that she did that. And then we have the same women or same girls, again wearing hats. I'm presuming, 60 years later or better. I'm not sure it's in the same location. I don't see the lake, I don't see the tree, the same tree, but nonetheless they're still watching the sunrise or sunset, I don't know which it is, and still together. So it's a wonderful story of friendship over the years. I don't know as I could do anything to change it, or that I'd even want to. I did, of course, try and put my little levels adjustment layer on, but even that didn't help. You've already done what you can with the postcard. Next was Sherry, and Sherry is this week's favorite. This tugged on my heartstrings just a little bit more than Vicki's did. Vicki would have been my second choice, but this one, it resonated with my feelings. And that's what makes a really good image, is if you can get people to feel something about it. I love the way that she's used both the back of the postcard and the front. These trees here are from Gun Lake. And she's integrated the roses and the grass and her mom and a hat, and there's supposed to be a boa someplace. Maybe that's what this grass is the boa. Excellently into one faded image that brings out all sorts of feelings. The one suggestion that I would have is, Sherry, if you would make the front of the postcard smaller, and I didn't do this, it would have taken me way too long, but if you make it smaller and perhaps reposition it, This would be a stronger image if both your mom's eyes had no distractions. Now, right now, the postmark goes into one eye and the stamp goes into the other. And I think by shrinking out the front of the postcard, maybe tilting it just a little bit to move the stamp down a little bit, I think it would be stronger, because the eyes are always, always, always the most important part of any photograph. So try that and see what you think. And then we have Helen, who again, I tried the levels adjustment layers, and I just put the levels adjustment on the grass and the trees because the rest of it is light enough. I think this is so cute. The sailboats are scaled well to the other boats in the pictures and to the trees on the shore. I like the fact that we've got a couple of fishermen here. I see an old man and an old woman spending a Saturday afternoon out of the house. I do wish, however, that the poles didn't intersect with anything else. Now, in this case, you could have taken the sailboat a little bit farther over, and the sails are light, so even though they might touch the island, they wouldn't blend in with it. There would be enough contrast that you could move the boat over just a tad, or shorten the fishing poles just a little bit, which might be a lot easier than moving the sailboat. I looked at this and I thought for a while that the scale, compared to the tree, these people weren't quite right. Maybe there's more room between the tree and the shore than I thought, but I played with it just a little bit to see what would happen if I made them a little bit bigger. Now this is rough and dirty and it doesn't blend near as well as yours does, Helen, but I did see if maybe that would help, and I'm not sure that it did. But nonetheless, beautiful job of integrating all the additions into the original photo. And we also have Amy here, surprise, surprise, doing a postcard. But this is so far off from what Amy generally does. I was just taken aback just a teeny bit. I didn't expect lasers and explosions from you, Amy. Great job of replacing the sky, and the sky, which is overcast, really matches the front of the image, the grass under here, because you can see that this image was taken on an overcast day. A couple of suggestions: you might want this green meadow in the back a little bit darker to match the sky, but then again, it isn't under the trees, so maybe you're right on this one. The other suggestion, another suggestion that I would make would be just to get rid of the text. I think that this is very distracting. There's no water. It doesn't look like an island. So if you take this off, it gives it a much more realistic look, as realistic as lasers and explosions are. I am wondering why the elephants in the back are not lasering. They look like they're just, going to have some lunch on the trees. Perhaps they aren't necessary. Don't know. but you could take them out and still have a very strong photographic composition with this mastodon here in the right hand side. If you look at the rule of thirds, he is definitely landing on a third line, and he's at the intersection of two lines, two third lines. Let's see if I can really quickly show that. If you would divide this into thirds, we'd have one roughly here and one roughly here. Whoops. Try that again without holding the shift down. Oh, that's bad. That's not even right. Maybe more like here. And then we'd have one about here and one about here. Now see, if you hold that shift down, you get all these diagonals that you didn't intend to have. So anyways, if you put a grid of thirds on here, this mastodon is right in the intersection of two power lines. So it really makes a nice strong composition to have him forward and the nice background. Well, thank you all for participating. I wish more would come out and participate. Congratulations, Sherry, on the favorite this week, and on Vicki for her lovely, thoughtful story of friends over time. Thanks.